I never thought I'd be sitting here, typing out my story like some kind of cautionary tale. But here I am, and honestly, I'm still trying to process everything that's happened. My name's Mark, and I was married to Lisa for about 7 years before everything hit the fan. We had a decent life, or at least I thought so, 2 good jobs, a nice house, the usual routines. But in the past few months, things started feeling off. Not outright bad, but subtle enough that I kept telling myself I was overthinking it. Little things, you know. She was more distant, less interested in the usual stuff we used to do, and there were these weird late nights she'd claim were work-related or just friends or some bullshit like that. Looking back, I should have seen the signs. She started dressing differently, more provocative when she went out, and her phone was constantly in her purse, even around the house. I'd catch her deleting texts or rushing to hide her screen. I asked her once if she was hiding something, and she snapped at me, called me paranoid. Typical Lisa, bitchy, dismissive, always quick with a lie. But I stayed. Quiet because I didn't want to believe she'd cheat on me. I mean, we had our issues like everyone else, but I genuinely thought I knew her, thought we had some kind of trust. Then came the retreat. We'd been hired to bring in a motivational speaker for our company's annual team building event. His name was Ryan, a well-known figure in the business world, charismatic and supposedly a pro at inspiring people. Lisa was really excited about it. She's always loved these kinds of seminars, always trying to pick up new motivational tricks or whatever. I was busy handling some emergency with a staff member, so I didn't spend much time at the event itself. Honestly, I was just trying to keep everything together. But I did notice her acting strange that night. She was more touchy, leaning in when Ryan was telling jokes, laughing a little too hard at his dumb jokes, and giving him these lingering looks that made my stomach turn. What really set off alarms, though, was the security footage from the hotel. The night after the event, I was called to the front desk because I'd left my wallet there, which was strange because I usually keep it in my pocket. While waiting, I glanced at the surveillance footage on the lobby monitor, and there it was, clear as day. I saw Lisa and Ryan entering his hotel room together, both looking around to make sure no one was watching. They didn't notice me watching the screen from the corner, and honestly, I couldn't believe my eyes. She'd lied to my face about everything, and now I had visual proof that she was cheating. The worst part. The footage showed them going in around midnight, and I remember she told me she was staying late at the office that night. That was the moment I felt my world shatter. I couldn't sleep that night. I replayed everything over and over, her sneaky behavior, the late-night texts, her dismissiveness, and now this footage that proved she'd been unfaithful. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and honestly furious. I kept asking myself, how long has this been going on? Did she ever really love me? Or was I just some placeholder for her until someone better came along? All these thoughts spun through my mind, making my stomach churn. I wanted to confront her immediately, but I also knew I needed a plan. I couldn't just burst in and accuse her without some proof or at least some kind of reasoned approach. But in that moment, I knew everything had changed. Whatever trust we had left was gone, and I didn't know if I could ever get it back. The next morning was a blur. I woke up with that heavy, sick feeling in my stomach, like I'd been punched in the gut. I kept staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of what I saw. Part of me kept telling myself I must have misunderstood, that maybe it was just a joke or some kind of mistaken identity. But deep down, I knew the truth. Lisa had been sneaking around behind my back, and that night with Ryan, that was just the tip of the iceberg. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I needed to talk to her, face to face, get some kind of explanation. But I also knew her kind. She was a master at lying, at spinning stories, at turning things around to make herself look innocent. Still, I couldn't keep quiet anymore. I decided I'd confront her that same day, after I figured out what I was going to say. When she came home that afternoon, she looked annoyed, like she knew she was caught but was trying to play it off. She was throwing on that fake smile, that "what's wrong with you" look. I wasn't having any of it. I pointed at her, showed her the footage on my phone, and watched her reaction closely. Her face froze, her eyes darted, and then she started with that classic line. "You're overreacting, Mark. It's not what you think. You're just jealous or paranoid like always. I felt my blood boil. I asked her how she could even try to lie her way out of it when I had proof right there. Her response: "It was just a stupid mistake. I didn't mean for it to go this far. It's not a big deal. Ryan's just a motivational speaker, for God's sake. We were just talking, having a good time. You're blowing everything out of proportion like you always do." She kept insisting that it was nothing, that I was overreacting, and that I was just jealous because she's more successful and better looking than most women. Yeah, she really said that. That bitchy attitude, her dismissiveness, it made my blood boil even more. But what hurt most was the blatant lie. She acted like I was crazy for even thinking she'd cheat. She played the victim, the wronged wife, the one who was just trying to make a living and be happy. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach again. My mind spun with 1,000 questions. How long had this been going on? How many times did she lie to me? Did she ever love me at all? I was so furious I couldn't even speak, so I just stared at her, feeling shattered inside. I wanted to scream, I wanted to cry, and mostly I wanted to smash something. But I held it in. Instead, I told her I needed some time to think, that I wasn't sure if I could ever come back from this, and that I was going to stay somewhere else for a while. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying everything: her lies, her sneaky behavior, her fake smiles. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and honestly deeply hurt. I never thought she'd do this to me. We had our problems, sure, but I never imagined she'd cheat behind my back. It felt like someone had died inside me. I kept asking myself what I did wrong, why she didn't love me enough to be honest, or even to end things with me if she was unhappy. The thought that she had been having sex with Ryan, that they had shared moments, stolen moments, made me sick. I felt like I was walking around in a fog, trying to hold myself together while everything inside was crumbling. Over the next few days, everything felt surreal. I couldn't focus on work, on anything really. All I saw was her face, her lies, the images of her entering that hotel room with Ryan. I kept replaying the footage in my head, obsessing over every detail. It was like a punch in the gut every time I thought about it. The worst part: she still insisted it was nothing, that I was just jealous and insecure. Said she regretted everything but didn't want to hurt me, that it was just sex, just some stupid mistake. I could tell she was trying to gaslight me, trying to make me doubt my own instincts. But I wasn't falling for it anymore. I decided I needed to dig deeper, get more evidence, something concrete. I started checking her phone, her emails, her social media. It wasn't long before I found more. Hidden texts, late-night messages, code words that she used with Ryan. She'd even deleted some of them, but I managed to recover a few. The messages were disgusting, flirty, suggestive, full of promises to meet again, to keep their secret affair under wraps. I saw her talking about how Ryan really knew how to make her feel alive, how sex with him was unlike anything she'd ever experienced. That was like a slap in the face. My wife, the woman I loved, was out there fucking someone else, and she was bragging about it in her secret messages. I felt sick. My stomach twisted so badly I thought I'd throw up. I remember sitting there, staring at the screen, feeling this mix of anger, sadness, and pure betrayal. How could she do this to me, to us? I thought we had something real, something worth saving. But all I had left now was this overwhelming sense that I'd been played, used, and discarded like yesterday's trash. I started thinking about how to confront her again, how to get her to admit everything. But part of me wanted to do something more, something that would make her regret ever crossing me. I decided I'd lay it all out, show her everything I had, every message, every piece of evidence. I didn't want to just argue or plead anymore. I wanted her to see how much she'd hurt me, how much she'd destroyed what we had. I was furious at myself for trusting her, for believing she was faithful. But more than that, I was furious at her for treating me like I was stupid, like she could just lie and cheat and I'd never find out. I knew the moment I confronted her again, things would change forever, and I wasn't sure if I was ready for that. That confrontation came sooner than I expected. I couldn't keep this bottled up anymore. I had all the evidence now, screenshots of their secret messages, the hotel footage, and her own lies. I decided to do it face to face. No more hiding behind texts or sneaky checks. I told her I wanted her to come home after work, and when she stepped inside, I was already waiting with everything spread out on the dining table. Her face twisted when she saw the pile of evidence. She tried to play it off, that annoyed, bitchy look she always put on when she knew she was caught. "What is this, Mark? You're crazy. You're reading too much into things," she spat. I looked her straight in the eyes and told her I knew about Ryan, about the hotel, about the texts, that I had all of it and she couldn't deny it anymore. I expected her to break down, to beg for forgiveness, maybe even to lie some more. But instead she looked at me like I was the fool. "Seriously, you're so insecure," she sneered. "You think I'd cheat on you with some motivational speaker? Grow up. You're just jealous because I get attention and you don't. Ryan's harmless and I'm not gonna sit here and take your accusations. You're making a fool of yourself." She was so dismissive, so condescending, that I felt rage bubbling over. How could she lie so shamelessly? How could she pretend that this didn't hurt? I told her she was full of shit, that I had everything on her now, that I didn't want to hear any more bullshit excuses. Her reaction: she rolled her eyes, scoffing like I was just some paranoid idiot. "You're pathetic, Mark. You think I'm some kind of cheat. Maybe you're the one with issues. Maybe I should have just left you years ago." That was the moment I realized she didn't care about me. She didn't care about us. She only cared about protecting her secret, her ego, her bullshit version of reality. I was so angry I couldn't even speak properly. I just stared at her, feeling the cold emptiness inside. All the love, all the trust, it had evaporated overnight. The truth hit me hard: she didn't love me anymore. She was bored, she wanted excitement, and Ryan gave her that. I felt this huge wave of sadness and betrayal, all mixed up with pure fury. I wanted to shake her, to scream at her, to make her see what she'd done. But all I could do was tell her I was done. I told her I'd be leaving and that I wanted her to think about what she'd lost. She just laughed, that bitter, bitchy laugh that made me want to tear her apart. That moment I knew I had to walk away, because staying meant losing what little dignity I had left. After I told her I was leaving, she didn't really try to stop me. That just made it easier to walk out the door and slam it behind me. I packed a bag and drove to a buddy's place. I couldn't be in that house anymore, not with her sitting there pretending it was all a mistake. As I was driving away, I felt this strange mix of relief and devastation. Part of me was glad I finally confronted her, finally saw her for what she was. But another part was broken, aching for what I thought we had. The days that followed were a roller coaster. I kept going over everything in my head: her lies, her cheating, how I'd been so blind. I'd catch myself thinking maybe she'd change her mind, come back and say she made a huge mistake. But deep down, I knew that wasn't going to happen. She'd already shown me her true colors, and I couldn't unsee that. Still, I had moments where I questioned if I should try to save what was left, or just cut my losses and move on. One thing was clear: I felt a terrible tangle of sadness and anger. I was hurt, embarrassed, and honestly humiliated. How did I let her get away with this? How did I not see the warning signs sooner? I kept thinking about the good times, our vacations, quiet nights, the little things she used to do that made me feel loved. All of that now felt like a distant memory, something I'd cling to because I didn't want to accept the truth, that she'd been lying and cheating on me for who knows how long. I decided I needed a break, time to breathe and get some perspective. I started seeing a therapist because I knew I was in a pretty dark place. Every day was a new challenge, dealing with the sense of betrayal, the anger, the disappointment. I felt like a fool for trusting her so blindly. But at the same time, I knew I had to find a way to pick myself up again. I couldn't let her ruin me completely. In the end, I made the decision that I wasn't going to chase her, try to fix this mess, or make her see what she lost. That ship had sailed. She chose Ryan and her own selfish desires over us, and honestly, I wasn't going to be the one to pick up the pieces anymore. I've got a long road ahead, but I know now that I deserve better. I learned that sometimes the worst betrayals come from the people you trust the most. And all I can do now is focus on healing, on moving forward, and making sure I never lose myself again in someone who doesn't truly care. Looking back, I realized that this whole experience changed me in ways I never expected. I used to think that love and trust meant everything in a marriage. Now I see that sometimes the person you love the most can also hurt you the deepest. It's a hard lesson, one I wish I didn't have to learn the way I did, but it's one that I won't forget. I've become more cautious, more aware of the red flags I once ignored. What hurts the most isn't just that she cheated, that's obvious, but the way she lied, the way she dismissed everything I felt. It's the betrayal of my trust, the feeling of being used and utterly invisible to someone I thought knew me best. I've come to accept that some people are just selfish, that they'll lie and cheat to satisfy their own craving for excitement or validation. But I refuse to let it define me. Now, I focus on rebuilding myself. I've started therapy seriously, working through the anger and sadness. I've also begun dating again, cautiously, because I want to believe that somewhere out there, there's someone who will appreciate me for who I am, someone honest and kind, someone who won't lie or cheat. I don't think I can ever fully trust again right away, but I'm learning to trust myself more. To anyone out there dealing with betrayal, whether it's cheating or any kind of heartbreak, just know that it hurts like hell, but it's also a wake-up call. Don't ignore the signs, don't dismiss your feelings. And most importantly, don't stay in a situation where you're just being used or lied to. If someone truly loves you, they will fight for you, not cheat behind your back or dismiss your feelings. This has been one of the hardest experiences of my life, but I've come out of it stronger. I've learned that sometimes the only way to find yourself again is to walk away from what's broken and start rebuilding from scratch. And I will, because I know I deserve better. That's what I take away from all of this. I may be wounded, but I'll heal, and someday I'll find someone who values honesty, loyalty, and respect. Until then, I keep moving forward,